Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Daily AI Show Live. Thanks for being here. Thanks to everybody in our comments. It's November 6th, 2025. And with me today, we have Andy. Welcome back. Beth, and I'm Brian. We'll see if Karl pops in the door as well. I was out yesterday as well. So hopefully I won't say the same news stories that you guys covered yesterday. But Beth, you can always keep us honest here, since you're the constant for the week. But yeah, let's sort of get into the news, and then what we want to do a little bit later is just have a little bit of a topic called talking around generative engine optimization, GEO or GEO, depending on how. There's a recent, less than 5-6 days old paper that came out of Princeton and some other places. Nate Jones has talked about it quite a bit, but it's really sort of about like, where does AI go in a world? Where does SEO go in a world of AI? And this is something that's come up quite a bit. This paper claims to have some insights on it. Karl had done some nice summary for us in our internal Slack channel. So we will get to all of that outside of the news story. And I thought for the news, we could kind of kick some things off here. I found this, I found it entertaining. The article title says Kim Kardashian blames ChatGPT for failing law exams, which is a very clickbaity title. I'll be honest with you. It's not as bad as that. For those who may or may not know, I know I've heard this, that Kim Kardashian wants to in fact be a lawyer. She took the bar exam in July. So excuse me. Oh, she's still awaiting the results. Okay. So as of yesterday, no, as of 2 days ago, I guess we still don't know whether she passed or not. But she was saying that she used ChatGPT all the time in terms of like, asking for, not, I guess, legal advice, but like as far as her studying, and she found it to be wrong a lot and caused her to fail like exams. Now, whether she meant like prep exams or whatever, it's a little bit more lighthearted than the title would have you, because it makes it sound like somehow she doesn't know what she's doing or whatever. That's not the case. I'm not taking anything away from somebody who's able to study and pass the law on the bar exam. So clearly you have to have some intelligence in order to do that. And I think they're trying to make it sound like perhaps she doesn't, which is unfortunate. So anyway, I found it interesting, but it's a little bit more clickbaity than I wanted to bring it up, because I felt like it was a little more clickbaity. And in fact, I don't really think that's the whole story. I think, in fact, what she was saying is like, she's like the rest of us. And then she uses the AI and LLMs and ChatGPTs of the world to help her. And, but her intuition was probably right to begin with, as the article said. And it was more of a like, just testing you. You knew what it was. You knew what the answer was. So I was more of what she was saying in there, which I found to be interesting. So what do you guys have? That's sort of my first sort of, I don't know, quick news story, but what do you guys have in the world of news? There was a lot in the last day or so.
So
I'm just mention quickly, just a quickie. I don't really have anything to show here, although there's some really cool video about it. But Toyota showed maybe you guys talked about this while I was gone, but
no,
Toyota showed
mentioned it in the
very
chat,
cool.
So
it's a prototype chair for mobility. So imagine a wheelchair, but it has 4 legs that articulate like octopus arms and walk, and can manage stairs and can do pretty much anything. It's not limited by terrain because it doesn't have wheels. And so it got intelligent, AI-driven, lifelike motion, and it's called Walk Me. And it shows, I want to try it. You sit in this chair and it walks you around. Fantastic. So, this is going to be a boon to lots of people who suffer from disabilities that make mobility a challenge. And Toyota's at the forefront of applying AI and really novel engineering of the actuators that are the legs of this chair. So check it out. So look online and try to find Toyota Walk Me and look at the videos of that thing moving.
I haven't seen it, but I will tell you someplace that I think it could also be helpful is quick firefighter story. But one of the most dangerous things we used to have to do is bring people down who, not because they have a disability, but just because they were immobile, right? For some reason or another, they were sick or otherwise. Assume like a 3 or 4 story walk-up apartment complex, all the intricacies of that, or even stairwells in a tall building or whatever. And we would often use what's called the stair chair, very, very narrow chair, has handles on the top and handles on the bottom. And as you can imagine, there's only one real way this works, and that's that there's quite a few firefighters at the bottom of the chair walking backwards, or in my case, there would be somebody holding the chair, another firefighter with their hand in your back to make sure you literally didn't fall down the stairs backwards. Patient who would strap in if they were prone to want to put their hands out, because the chair would, as you can imagine, the chair is going to lean, and it makes the person feel like they're going to fall out. This is somebody who already feels sick. It's not a great ride. There's nothing great about it. And so we would literally strap their hands to the chair because it was dangerous for us. And then, of course, everything else that goes with it. And so if these things become more commonplace, Andy, man, would I love to see something like this that has like actuators, and not just for firefighter safety, but for patient safety, the ability to put somebody in essentially a modern day stair chair and enable that patient to safely make its way down a set of stairs, navigating different obstacles, so that your EMS and fire can focus on what they should be focusing on, which is the patient care, and not necessarily getting hurt moving around. So I haven't seen it, but it sounds not only great for folks who need an alternative to a wheelchair, but I can see immediately where this might have implications for emergency services as well, which is super cool.
So I've pulled up a little bit of the demo video, and from what I can tell, it doesn't address. I was looking at it to see, like, is that going to be like riding a horse, right? And there is some motion in the chair, and also in the prototype, the chair does not have a seatbelt. So there's some more design. This sort of goes back to like nothing for us without us, because there is not a person in a wheelchair who would not notice that there is nothing in this that's going to help you when you're going down the stairs if that chair tips a little bit.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
let's see. I'll just share the image. And there we go. So you can see that, like, it's an interesting thing, but that seat looks to me more like an able-bodied person would be interested in that seat, as opposed to someone.
And even lift the user to reach vehicles or higher platforms.
Yeah.
Each leg is fully motorized and capable of bending,
the chair
lifting,
itself is kind
and
of
adjusting
bumping.
independently.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of interesting.
This allows walkies to move smoothly across surfaces where traditional wheelchairs struggle. The chair's design focuses on...
Yeah, and that footplate?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Like, okay, this is a very cool design, and not like they're obviously focusing on the legs more than
very minimalist, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but it's very minimal in its design. It's very cool looking. It's not what I thought it was going to look like at all. No. So that's interesting.
Yeah, what you didn't see in the quick, ambulation of the four legs is that those legs can curve down, and it can kind of kneel on any one or all of those legs and actually turn in a different position. Oh, there you go. So that's how it manages to do stairs. It has these folding articulable legs that can maneuver over obstacles or upstairs and downstairs.
The user controls movement through intuitive side handles or a digital interface equipped with buttons for precise commands. The legs are covered in soft materials that protect the internal mechanisms. And
so in the
sorry,
chat,
the idea of somebody clapping and saying "come here" to somebody who might be in a wheelchair, slightly degrading. It's like, so probably not. I don't think anybody wants to see that. Nobody wants to be called upon like they're a dog or something like that because they're in a chair. So
Justin says, looks like the cursed chair from Beetlejuice, and I have to say that rings true in some ways. But really exciting stuff coming down the pike about advancing mobility options. So
I have another quick one here, and I apologize. Well, actually, Beth, I guess do you have one? You have a news story, and then I'll
go you. I'm gonna
quick one. Tinder uses AI to get to know users, taps into their camera roll photos. Okay, so as I said, I'm usually not the best person to talk about this because I met Amanda and it was sort of not before online dating apps and stuff like that, but I was certainly not to the level that we have now with Tinder. And so this idea like struck me because the idea was that, oh, by understanding you more through your photos, pause there for whether you want to give that or not, it could perhaps do a better job of matching you with somebody. But I thought about it with my photos. And I mean, if you were going to look back through my photos of the last week, one of the most predominant things, there'd be more photos of it, was we had a UGA, football watch party on Saturday. And so there would be a ton of stuff in there. And while, it's great that Amanda also went to UGA and we're able to share and that she even cares about UGA football and whatever, that's great. But I would not consider that to be primary to me. If I was out trying to meet somebody, I don't know that I would necessarily care. And so I wonder how much photos really reveal. And maybe I'm just like looking through this in my own little silly little lens. But also, like, obviously they're not just going to, I don't think it's carte blanche. I don't think that's what Tinder's asking for here. It's like, obviously you give permissions and control. So obviously check, but I get the impression that you're giving full control over some photos or not. And the reason you're doing that and choosing to do that and opting in on certain photos or not, it's because you feel like Tinder's AI algorithms are going to help you find a potential better match. And that's why I don't think it's necessarily going to fail. I think people will, in fact, decide to do that if they feel like it increases their chances. But also, if I'm fully curating the photos in a certain way, then what happens is I think people will manipulate, and I don't think you're going to necessarily get the result maybe that people are hoping for, because what you end up getting is a very curated, social media friendly, perhaps, imagery that isn't in fact what its intended purpose is, which is to help you match with people who have your interests and stuff. So I think it's going to be interesting because people are going to put their own filter on it about where what photos get chosen. And then the algorithms is mixing around with those photos. I'm not quite sure it's a novel idea, but I'm not sure it quite gets to the same end result. So found it interesting, but yeah, no, thank you. I don't think I want Tinder, accessing my photos, but I think I'm probably in the minority there. And a lot of people will actually say yes to it.
So this brings up the question for me about how people use their photos. I mean, I probably have, first of all, I don't go through and delete, which is a problem, I realize, but I probably have 50 photos of the parking space number that I've parked in.
Right,
like,
right.
what are you, what I'm fascinated by numbers painted on concrete. Like, what is this doing to your Tinder algorithm, right? Like, I'm not sure that,
and that's
if
why I
you're
don't think
just
it's
looking
probably
for photos of me having fun.
But
like,
see, I think what it is, Beth, is you giving access to certain photos. I might be wrong, by the way. Maybe I misinterpreted it. Maybe there is a carte blanche, like Tinder, you may access all my photos, in which case I agree with you. It'd be a lot of screenshots. It'd be a lot of screenshots of this and that. And that's what my photo, it wouldn't be very helpful at all in a dating life whatsoever. So I agree with you there. I think it's people probably opting in certain photos the way that Instagram will say, do you want to add more photos to your sort of like available library?
Right.
And I have to go through that, at least for me, I have to go through that step first before I can actually select the photos I want to use for Instagram, because I don't allow Instagram to have full viewing of everything that's in my photo library. I have to opt in certain photos. So it shouldn't, but you're right. Like, that's why I think it's going to end up being curated, why it probably won't be helpful. So like, if I want to project myself in a certain way, I'm going to pick photos that I think, number one, paint me in a great light. But number two, perhaps aren't as representative of the actual me into that algorithm. And if everybody else is doing that, I think you just end up going on dates and go like, well, I think we got matched because you like rock climbing. You're like, oh, I don't rock climb. I aspire to rock climb, but I don't rock climb. And it's like, wait, hold on.
Wasn't that the distinction between like eHarmony, which supposedly had an assessment that you filled out that would be better than this is how I would like to describe myself and who I think I want? Because
probably more accurate too.
It's because I think there are lots of studies that say what the way that we describe ourselves and the way that we describe the person that we would like to meet don't actually play out
Yeah.
when you meet the person who fits that description.
And I mean, Greg is calling out in the comments, Tinder is quote recreational. That might be the case. It may not be about long-term. I don't know. It may not be about long-term commitment. I'm not sure how the average person is using Tinder. Regardless, even if it was more recreational, I'm not so sure the images necessarily get you there. The end of this TechCrunch article too, and this is the last thing I'll say about it. It says their revenue is declining at Tinder. And what did it say here? Sorry. It says it's rolled out more experiences. It says despite the product changes, and I don't have data to validate this. It says Tinder faces a tough market where some young people are leaning away from online dating in favor of more real world experiences, while online daters in the US may be spending less due to their disposable income shrinking as the country flirts with a recession. So those are a bunch of like embedded links. I'd have to really dive into that a little bit more and whether that's in fact true. But that would be very interesting, is that if there has been recent and maybe year or two pushback a bit against these online platforms in favor of probably platforms that facilitate in-person meetups. So we might be coming full circle to no. You got to be in the room, and we'll help you curate the room in the right room, but you got to be in the room. You're not going to find them. I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, I mean, and the point of all of these is to get you to a place where you are going to have to meet in person, right? Like that is the ultimate goal.
Yeah, that's fair.
In person.
Good point. At some point, you're going to have to meet in person.
And
right?
I wondered, I thought Jude said he met his wife on eHarmony, and I was remembering that, but I did not want to say that out loud in case I was wrong. Yeah. Thanks for confirming.
I have a good friend. I don't know if it was eHarmony, but I have a good friend that's the same age as me, was just at the very early stages of it and met his wife, and they have been successfully married for, I think, as long as me and my wife, and have wonderful kids and a lot of success from like 20 plus years ago.
I feel like our most recent conversation about online dating was a CEO, was it for Bumble? Talking about, like my agent will meet their agent, they'll discuss. And then, so there are lots of options. But Greg is also naming that anything you put in one of these services becomes data that can be used and sold and 100%. All of those sorts of things. And in fact, there was a news story about that relates to what we were talking about the other day in terms of Facebook being able to create customized ads, like very personalized ads. There was a news story that came out based on things that were surfaced in a court case. And Facebook was looking at, it's a court case about scams, getting scam ads shown to you. And it was about the thing that came out was about the finances of that. Does Facebook make more money showing scam ads than it would pay in fines for showing scam ads, right? Like that kind of thing. And as I feel like that relates to the personalization thing that we're looking at coming, because because then you have to look at individual ads, right? An aggregate of individual ad messages versus this one ad was shown to a bunch of people and shown to be not accurate, a scam, whatever. So we're we're barreling toward the future that we're still not ready for.
What else you got, Beth, for news? Maybe we'll hit maybe one or two more before we pivot here.
So I have, what else do I have for news? Oh, ChatGPT. It has not been announced, but it's been shown in the maybe the commented out contents. I don't know what I'm saying. Bilal. You say something, Brian. I will go find this and actually say it.
I got a few here. I see an article. I can't read the whole article, but it does say Apple nears a $1 billion a year deal to use Google AI for Siri. I fully welcome that. I hope that happens. I don't know more on that. Also, I wanted to say really quick on another news story that there was a lot of talk about the global stock market falling sharply over AI bubble fears. And the only thing I really wanted to point out there is if you do look at the NASDAQ, for those that I'm not some big investor, so I'm not the right person for this, that yes, there was a dip there, but even a simpleton like me can scroll out a little bit and look at 6 months and year to date. And while the stock market NASDAQ did dip, it has nothing compared to what happened on April 8th, which was a big old dip. And then if you look at the 1 year, you'd say, no, we're doing all right with the NASDAQ. And if you look at the 5 year, you go, yeah, I'm doing all right with the NASDAQ. So there's dips and bumps along the way. But nothing compared to what happened in early April with the dip that happened 2 or 3 days ago. I'm not saying it's not important that people aren't having fears. We've been talking a lot about this potential AI bubble. Is it real? Is it not real? Obviously, there's a lot of concerns and scares. There's a lot of over evaluations out there, and people are reacting, and we're seeing that with the stock market. So
I've got some color. I have some color on those points that you made.
Great.
First of all, with Apple and the Google deal, right? They are deploying a 1.2 trillion custom version of Gemini to power Siri. And they're going to pay $1 billion annually to do that to Google, right? So there's some serious cash flowing back and forth here. They trialed models from OpenAI and Anthropic, but the 1.2 trillion model from Google is much larger than the current model that Apple Intelligence currently uses, and it was larger than the models that OpenAI and Anthropic trialed them. So anyway, it's apparently not going to be promoted publicly, so you're not going to see, on Apple Intelligence by Google. It's not going to be like that, right? I'll point out but it really is smart. It's smart to work with Google, I think, in the long run, because they really have tremendous capabilities and can support that. But Apple says they're going to work on their own internal model over time. So this is a stopgap. They're going to do this in order to launch Siri sometime, possibly as soon as this spring. So we're all looking forward to that, because Siri is lame and doesn't understand me. But they're going to be working on their own Apple Intelligence, frontier type model. The other one that's interesting is that Perplexity is not paying $1 billion, but they're paying $400 million to Snap to reach Snap's 1 billion monthly users. Mm-hmm. So Perplexity has a big play afoot here to get a lot more reach than they currently have by partnering. They're paying to be the AI component of the Snap interface, which has an enormous population. So those are both things that I think show the fluidity of the marketplace there. And to your point about whether there's a bubble or not, I just wanted to point out that Anthropic is now projecting that they're going to have by 2026, they're going to have 26 billion in revenue. Okay, so that's not falling, by the wayside here. Now, OpenAI, with a much, much larger user base, but focused on consumers, is forecasting 100 billion by 2027, the following year. So not next year, but the year following. But you can imagine that Anthropic, if it continues its success in the enterprise market, in the coding space, where it's far surpassing OpenAI, it does nearly double what OpenAI does in API revenues. Mm-hmm. You can imagine if they're next year going to do 26 billion, they're probably going to grow to 50 billion at least. So they'll be at half the scale of OpenAI in terms of revenues, but they won't have lost 115 billion getting there. They're much closer to profitability. So that's promising in respect of whether there's an AI bubble or not, that Anthropic has found a business model where they're quietly building this high margin software machine for the Fortune 500 and will be profitable very soon, probably in 2027, whereas OpenAI is going to continue to spend money chasing after a much broader suite of tools and services to consumers and to enterprise. And by the way, OpenAI announced also that it has now 1 million plus business customers. And that means that they are actually making some inroads into enterprise. That would make OpenAI be the fastest growing platform in the history of enterprise. And that's ChatGPT for work. It grew 40% in 2 months and now has about 7 million seats. So you pay by the seat, right? So it's not just a million customers, they have 7 million seats there. So they're no slouch compared to Anthropic, but Anthropic has a much better economic model afoot.
Right. And imagine how well ChatGPT could be doing at work if they thought a little bit more about how people might want to use and share and collaborate on GPTs, right? Like you could just bump that up just slightly in a more usable fashion. Come talk. Brian has a lot to say about this. He could help you.
Beth, we all know that all enterprise people and business people really care about what ChatGPT is. Can they get tickets for the Knicks game in 2 days? And can they have ChatGPT do it for them? Clearly, this is the only business use cases that are out there. In jest, I said that being sarcastic, but look, if you listen to what Sam said last week, when he was doing the Ask Me Anything, whatever we think ChatGPT is, and whatever they rename it to, if they decide to do that, because they might, whatever that on cloud platform is, will be drastically different than what we know of a ChatGPT or an OpenAI today. And they made it very clear, we want the world to be able to build on our platform. And that really says a lot when you think about this business surge that they've had, an enterprise surge, because what they're saying to me at Scaled is, never mind all my clients and my consultant side of it, is just Scaled, or the Daily AI Show for that matter, is we want you to be here. We want you to build here. We want you to find your agents and your solutions and your agentic work here on our system, and basically be like Google Work or 365 or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but that's where they've been pretty clear about where they're going. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. But that may play into that future role of what kind of Karl would said about, like, well, do I really need so much? Do I need my CRM to be so robust if I'm able to have a simple CRM that I can layer on my AI cloud deployment on top of? Does the CRM need to be able to do everything, or can I save a lot of money by having a simple CRM? Because now my AI solution handles all the things, right?
But again, like, you need people in your organization who are using the system the way that users use the system, because right now it really seems very clear that everybody in these organizations are like, well, our guys really love this, right? Like, the majority of the world are not like people who work for the labs that are developing this, right? Like, you do at some point need to broaden your sense of what the user experience is, and particularly business user experience, if that's the market that you're going to go for. And I don't see why you wouldn't. At the same time that all of this is happening, Sarah Fryer, the CFO of OpenAI, said in an interview, the company wants a federal guarantee to make it easier to finance the investments that they're making in AI chips and data centers. Now that blew up, right? OpenAI wants federal backstop for new investments, and it is in fact being asked for. But she did walk back a little bit. It gave feelings and memories of too big to fail, right? Is OpenAI now, and is it growing to be something that's such an integral part that it's too big to fail? And to what Andy was saying, Anthropic is definitely benefiting from all of the investment that AI, like OpenAI is sort of like the battering ram out front. It seems it's just like burning through money and doing a bunch of stuff. And so it'll be interesting if that's too far, too big, and that bubble happens. And also, just to clarify my own opinion, that this is talked about like it's like the dot-com bubble. And if we look at the dot-com bubble, yes, the valuations were too high, but it didn't go away. Right. So we're
Right.
in that scenario. The AI, if the AI is a bubble, it's not a bubble in like it's here. The thing that I was remembering, their name is Tibor Blaho. I'll probably pronounce that wrong. And they look in the code of the web app. So ChatGPT's web app has a hidden new promo for veterans, 1 year of ChatGPT Plus free for eligible military members.
Amazing.
So
Love it.
we're and that's interesting. I'm assuming that's US, maybe not. But keep looking for that if you are in the military.
Next week. So that doesn't surprise me. That's great. I love that. I think I love to see more of that. I have one more quick news story. Cool. Yeah. All right. Last one. This is from like Monday. This is the one news story that just kept not getting there, but I want to clear my palate so I can talk about new news stories tomorrow. But I saw this for Waymo, and it wasn't that Waymo is expanding from Reuters. It was Waymo to expand robotaxi service to Las Vegas, San Diego, and Detroit next year. You think, all right, well, that makes sense, right? We kind of know about Waymo, whatever. What caught my attention was Zeekr. The Zeekr built vehicles alongside the existing Jaguar I-Pace fleet. And I thought, oh, I wasn't aware of Waymo having their like newer vehicles or anything like that. So then I went on this the other day. I went down this rabbit hole trying to figure out, well, what does the Zeekr look like? And this is, to the best of my understanding, because Zeekr makes other types of vehicles, but the one you're seeing on the screen is Geely showcases SEA-M platform used by Waymo's Zeekr robotaxi. Delivered from Geely's SEA platform, SEA-M, or however you say it, SEA-M, for future mobility products like robotaxis, multi-purpose vehicles, and long logistics vehicles. So anyway, I found that interesting. I'm not surprised to see this. It actually looks a little bit like these vehicles that they have in Orlando, but they're a little bit taller. They look like the little pods that you would take out if you weren't going to go down a jetway onto a plane, but you were taking a smaller plane. You kind of take the little pod trams that would go out. It sort of looks like that. This obviously still looks more like a car. Hard to tell from here whether I'm assuming you're going to still have the, we're not autonomous, so we're going to have the driver in the car and stuff like that. But clearly not a Jaguar I-Pace, and just different in terms of what a Waymo vehicle looks like. So I just found this interesting because I was like, oh, it's not even just that they're expanding, but with a vehicle that I at least hadn't seen before, and I had not previously heard of Zeekr. I don't know if you guys, if that name had come across your desk or not, but I hadn't heard of them. All right. If there's no other news, then let's go. Jude says, by the way, he says, old like the BMW EV. He's talking about the BMW that I actually had for a long time. Super cool vehicle. I miss that BMW so much. The EV on it. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, Jude.
Okay, so at the same mobility show that the wheelchair, this is what Gareth just posted in the chat. Might as well, where are you, Gareth? Might as well talk about the child transporter. And so Toyota unveiled Mobi at the Japan Mobility Show as like the wheelchair that is not wheeled, like the leg chair. Is that what we call it? Like the, sure. I don't know, octa chair.
Octa, yeah.
It's a quad. It's not an octa.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a quad, but it's okay. Quad leg chair, sure.
So Mobi is an autonomous electric vehicle specifically designed to transport children without adult supervision on board. It's a bubble-shaped pod vehicle, and it's part of Toyota's Mobility for All product and features several child-friendly elements. Now, in Japan, I do believe that children do walk back and forth to school unsupervised, right? It's a very different culture. So did you just share something, Brian, for this?
No. Yeah, but just to get us prepped for the next segment.
All right, awesome.
I was getting ahead of things. And Greg would like to point out that chairs have legs. Thank you, Greg.
So we can just say it's a chair.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are you trying to say, Greg? Are you trying to say that we didn't say chairs have legs? Yeah. I just like that point. I like chairs have legs. Like, fair point. Fair. They have 4 legs. Yeah.
Anyway, would love to hear what people think about the possibility of your child going to school, being transported to school back and forth in a Moby.
Yep. All right. So let's pivot out of the news into something that's been sort of in the news, but I want to bring it up on the screen. Nate Jones, who we talk about quite a bit, put out like a 20-minute YouTube video on this, and so there you could certainly listen to him talk about it. You can also read this paper, which is part of what he talked about. Now this paper is talking about generative engine optimization. And actually, as I look at this, now he was referencing this, but this is, I mean, July 28, June 28, 2024. This is not a new paper, but this is the one that, sorry, I'm just checking the dates out. No, it is actually from 2024. Interesting. All right. Well, this is the one he was referencing, but Nate Jones was talking about this sort of idea of generative engine optimization. This is a paper that put out. I thought it was more recent. But he had just referenced this in there, so that's my mistake. But what it's basically talking about is something we've mentioned on this show quite a bit, which is like, where does the future of SEO go if Google is going to just, take a combination of things and put it in the AI mode or the AI response, or even not just Gemini or Google rather, but if you're in ChatGPT. So obviously everybody has the same questions, which is like, okay, well, how do I ensure that my product, my blog, my whatever lands in the results, right? That's what we're talking about. Like, how do I make sure that AI picks it up? And I'm not sure that I've really heard anybody have any good ideas about how to do that definitively. And so this paper points and says, hey, we've done some research and we believe that there's some real distinct ideas here. And then I guess the more recent stuff was that Nate talked about this on his Substack as well as his video. And then just to put one more layer on this, Karl from our team, Karl, put some like sort of notes together. And so I just wanted to call it a few of the things that Karl brought up, which is like the 7 new rules for AI findability. And I think this was coming off of what Nate was talking about. So just to give credit where credit's due, position bias inversion. So AI models avoid overrepresented or dominant sources to maintain diversity. So the idea being that if you're Nike and you hold the top 3 positions on Google, that actually could work against you, because they're saying that AI may potentially look below those initial ones in order to have more diversity. And so it could actually work out against you. There's something about the 18 token extraction pattern. Most AI citations come from short, complete sentences under roughly 18 tokens, which if I had to do the quick math there, that's probably like 25 to 30 words. I'd have to do the conversion. So a clear standalone sentence is more likely to be quoted. These are not finite, like this is the law now. This is just what Nate was talking about, as well as what the paper was suggesting as well. Instructional shadow problem. Institutions like example of Google, MIT often get credit over individual experts. LLMs read the attribution lines literally. If your name and org aren't formatted correctly, the org wins. So some interesting information there. The noise floor. Half of the web is now AI spam. That raises the value of genuine high signal content. I don't think that's anything new. We've been talking about this. How do you get high signal content? How do you reduce for hallucinations? Well, they're making the point that if you have a lot of quotes, if you have a direct short blurbs and citations, that perhaps you have a better chance of being used because you're considered to be more credible. Yeah. Citation churn and context rot. AI citations rot faster than SEO rankings. I found this one interesting. Fresh, micro updated pages stay visible longer. Static evergreen posts fade from mono memory over time. Now, if that holds to be true, that is definitely in the face of like sort of traditional SEO, which is to say, put together a solid blog with deep keyword embedding and make, like it can't always be evergreen, but be the predominant source of truth on this topic. And what they're saying here potentially is that may fade, and that AI perhaps is favoring more recent, fresh information, which would mean that those like time consuming evergreen blogs, while they may still have a lot of value as far as the SEO, it sounds like there might be a switch here with this new sort of geo idea that you're also going to have to be much more frequent in your updates to perhaps your websites or your blogs that continue to have fresh content in them. So whether you're recycling your evergreen and just updating them more often, it'll be interesting to see how marketing teams pivot towards that idea. And then the last one, I think here, if I think I got all of them. Well, domain mismatch penalty. Breath now hurts more than it helps. Covering too many topics signals aggregator, not expert. But I also kind of feel like SEO has maybe been that way. And then under optimization wins for big players. Heavy AI optimization backfires for high authority sites. Subtle fluency tuning and light citation structure beat aggressive GEO tactics. Individuals, however, can go hard. Clarity and confidence help them rise fast. So Nate had pointed this out in the video that he feels like there's a window here where people could actually get the competitive advantage before your sort of bigger names take this really seriously, or perhaps are able to turn the ship around. And that there's a window here of opportunity for people to put out really, really good content that does in fact get vacuumed up by your AI modes and things like that, based on whether you're able to pivot faster to this. Because as it's pointing out, the big brands aren't necessarily the ones that get the automatic GEO bump just because they were the top 3 results, or they were able to SEO optimize to a point where, again, a Nike or any big brand holds the top 3, 4, 5 positions, that you now have potentially as a little player the opportunity to be competitive in there. And Greg says, so Nate is saying, right, good. Yeah, I mean, it's so many words, right, Greg? So anyway, what are your guys' thoughts on something? There's a lot here. I kind of high leveled it, but I just wanted to at least bring it up because I thought there was really some important caveats here.
Yeah, I'm thinking that this major transition from search engine result pages, which have a natural tendency towards links and then tracing links to find yourself at a different website, are being supplanted by that model is being supplanted by answer engines. And LLMs are answer engines, right? You pose a query, you get the answers back. You might get citations. On a rare occasion, I click on a citation link, right, and see where that takes me. But it's very rare. And I just saw this morning, but I couldn't find it again, that there's evidence that LLM links are declining, meaning they were producing a certain number of referrals, link referrals basically, to advertisers or people who had developed content in order to optimize for GEO or AEO. Answer engine optimization is a term that Dharmesh has used, similar to generative engine optimization. But apparently the actual traffic that comes from that is declining from a slight rise that was occurring. And so it's not looking very good as a method for getting a funnel working, right? There's just not an active funnel there from the answer engine to that. So while I think all of the advice about how to improve your content in order to appear in answer engines is good, it doesn't have the direct clickable link kind of result that is necessary in order for you to have a determinate, optimizable funnel that you can work with. So I think it's a tough market out there for people who have been spending money that way effectively, because it's predictable. It's no longer predictable, and it's actually declining.
So there were some anecdotal pieces that I feel like have come out over the last year, and have a little bit to do with Perplexity and where Perplexity is sourcing things, have a little bit to do with, I think, LinkedIn, because Perplexity was using Bing as the search engine, and apparently a lot of systems do, because Bing sells it at a more reasonable price, maybe on the back end. And I'm curious because I've seen people, again, totally anecdotal, people talking about leads that they've gotten from LinkedIn, which is owned by Microsoft, right? And that stuff could very well be rising through a Bing sourced engine, and in the context makes sense because LinkedIn goes back to a person, right? The stuff that LinkedIn pushes goes back to an actual individual that you can verify as opposed to a blue link going to a website, right? So I'm super curious about that. I also think that based on what you said, you could actually just produce a new website every day, right?
You could. We could off this
Or
show alone.
every week. I mean, you'd want enough time to get to get searched and optimized. Like, I don't know how much does the search engine update every day? Does the algorithm update every day? But we definitely have the ability, right? If say you wanted to rank for cotton candy, right? I'm the world's expert on cotton candy.
Mm.
I could conceivably put together a website that was fresh every day.
I think that would be smart if I was trying to land, because yes, like in the past we would talk about whether Google had done its crawl and whether it caught the website. But if I set up a trigger inside of ChatGPT and I say, hey, every single day, go out and about and find me new news, well, that's not a problem, right? We already know that's possible. I'm able to get updates daily. I mean, we do it with this show all the time, and we can aggregate news and put them together, and that's all done through AI. So if my website is the freshest news source for cotton candy, and I'm doing that in a way that is doing what they're talking about with clear citations, I'm also going to say it too, simplistic markdown. I mean, I will tell you this: if you build websites that are super, super fancy and they have flash and they have left and right images like you would in a slide deck, the AI gets confused with that. I know we should think, hey, it's like human. It should be able to look from top down, left to right, through images too. But as humans, we can all look at a comic. I create a comic every week for the newsletter, right? I know that when I'm in Canva, if I layer one word bubble a little bit bigger and overlapping another word bubble, we will look at that and go, that person spoke first. Right?
Right.
AI can't do that. Not to my knowledge. And so there's some real complexities here that where you look at a website, it's optimized for mobile or desktop or whatever, that are optimized to people and an interesting experience in how we're going to consume that information. But I almost wonder if there's going to eventually be like hidden secondary AI optimized websites that are basically stripped of everything but markdown, like H1, H2, H3 headers on the back end. Not something you would necessarily find immediately,
Right.
but still searchable so that that information comes back in plain text inside of a ChatGPT window. Because I don't need it to bring back my fancy image and my flash and splash and, it's spun 360 or whatever when I was showing you that, like when you were showing us the chair. But I do need Moby to come up, right? And so I might optimize websites to be for AI while also continuing to do it. So it's like you're not throwing out SEO, but you're also saying, okay, we now need this sort of whole stripped down, very timely information on AI. And I think if to your point, Beth, if I was trying to be known to be the expert on cotton candy, on that niche topic, maybe a certain spun type of cotton candy, right? If there's even different types, I'm sure there are, then you're probably right. That's probably exactly how I would do it, is ensure that there was like newsworthy, timely, daily, fresh content to go along with my expertise on the website.
Well, and it used to be that that like you would do scammy kind of stuff and put white text on white background so that you do all of that. And it feels like we're in that we're in that plays to a certain extent, but not scammy. Just like, this is what I want the AI to know. I can write the whole thing in Markdown. You get it. It's white on white. The
Mhm.
link on the front says enter or whatever it says,
Yeah.
right? Like, and then you go to the human-based site. And we know that Karl has also talked about, like, there's a third option, right? You get to a site and there's a little voice interaction
Yeah.
chat that says, "Hey, you want to chat about what we're doing?"
Sure.
You get to pick your lane.
The
Yes,
interesting thing about that is that does that in turn become recent data, that chat interaction that I have, is that
right.
captured in a way that can be turned around and used by the website to say, oh, these are fresh conversations. These
Yeah,
are the FAQs that come up a lot, and somehow capitalize on that from the AI side. That would be really interesting. You're basically saying, hey, come have a better, more interactive vocal, voice friendly interaction with the website. But that website might also go like, this is really good for us because you are effectively creating tomorrow's content.
right.
Scraped,
Absolutely.
scrubbed, not Beth Lyons said this, but
Right.
but
Beth
aren't
Lyons
we?
IP address, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah, yeah,
which
right.
corresponds to, yeah.
It's funny you asked about this. Beth Lyons of Baltimore
Okay.
is saying that this is important.
So we're not saying that there will be a daily cotton candy show coming soon, but we're also not
We're
saying
not
that
saying
there
it.
will be a daily cotton candy show coming soon. All right.
It may be the next $1 million idea from the show. All right. Unless you guys have anything else to add on this one, Andy, Beth?
Nope.
No. All right. Let's
But we
go
do
ahead.
know that Karl is coming. We have a thing with Karl next week that we can promo, which is looking at AI skills outside of tools, things that are across the board.
Okay, great. I think doesn't he have a topic tomorrow that he was bringing as well? Am I
That
wrong?
is that topic.
Oh, but that's tomorrow, not next
Yep.
week. Excuse me. Sorry, my voice is going out there. Okay, well, good time to wrap it up because I'm losing my voice. So thanks guys for hanging out with us. Thanks for all. I mean, we have a lot of comments today. Y'all are awesome. Thank you to everybody. I couldn't possibly say all your names in there, but thank you all for coming and hanging out and sharing your voice and your thoughts along the way. We always read those. So keep doing it. Keep showing up. It makes the show that much better. We appreciate you being part of it. If you like what we're doing, just remember we're here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, doing this show live. We also do a Conundrum episode that goes out on Spotify and the podcast platforms on Saturdays. And we also have a newsletter that goes out on Sundays. If you want to be part of the newsletter and get it for free on Sunday mornings, you can do that by going to our main website, thedailyishow.com. Don't judge us on it. It needs to be updated. We need AI to help us update it. Then also, if you would like to join our Slack community, that's what I wanted to tell you. You can do that as well, which is another fun way to keep the conversation going. And you can go to the dailyishowcommunity.com to do that. So there you go. That's everything. Thanks for hanging out on this lovely Thursday. And we will see you guys tomorrow for our last show of the week. See you then.
Thanks.